Hello, and I am so excited on this episode to have a very, very special guest with us here today. We have Joel Lieberman. He is a sales guru, as people like to call him. He talks about sales. He helps train people with sales, helps them with lead generation and whatnot. And tonight we're going to pick his brain just a little bit on the sales aspect of business. So, Joel, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming today.
Very good. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Okay, amazing. So I guess to begin, if you could just explain to everybody what it is that you do and why it is they should be listening to you, perhaps when it comes to sales.
It's a good question why they should be listening to me, but I guess if they have extra time, they should be. But so my company is called Mint Capital. We're a mortgage company, and I guess our focus is in building salespeople to help them build a successful career in sales. And it's not just in sales, it's obviously customer service as well, how to deal with people. But I would say my area of focus is in the sales part, how to generate leads on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like you're very specific about the consistent basis because it seems like it's very easy to get one or two people. But I think one of the biggest fears a lot of people have when it comes to business in general is how can you get a consistent flow of people coming into your business, because people will come, people will go. So if you could talk a little bit about that, or really like, how would you define sales? Actually, let's start there. How would you define sales?
So that's exactly why I'm excited about sales these days. I would say most of my adult life have been in sales, and part of the struggle that I found in sales was it's finding the consistent way of getting leads consistently. And it was always based on personality. I went in to do a sale. It was always, how am I going to perform that day? How is my, how are my words going to be? How is my character going to be that day? And that was very draining, I would say. So for me to figure out that, you know what, sales is a process, sales is a system. And if you understand the system of sales, doesn't matter which industry you are, it's something that you follow and you build a consistent flow of income.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. So what would be the difference in this specific case between sales, I would say, and the marketing of getting people onto a call?
Um,
Or is it combined? Like, how would you differentiate or?
yeah, I think sales is marketing at the end of the day. I mean, some get sales through marketing, some get it through sales. And sales could be a lot of things. It could be cold calling. It can be, as you said, marketing. And marketing can be many ways. It can be marketing in papers. It can be today's day, like we are now on LinkedIn, social media. And then it could be marketing at networking events. There are many ways of marketing yourself. So I would say what I've found is that a lot of people spend a lot of money on marketing, but they're missing the simple way of getting business, which is just simple sales. And sales is being in front of people and telling them what you do, giving them a reason to do business with you. And I think that's the cheapest way, easiest way in one sense. I mean, it's the easiest because there's no cost and there's nothing associated to it that you have to do. You just have to do your calls and you just have to meet people. And that's why I found it obviously to be the best way of getting business.
Right. Why do you think it's so hard for people to be successful at sales? Like, I know a lot of people nowadays are trying to, like you said, learn the words or trying to bring their energy to the calls or it's when they meet people and they have to be on their game. But why do you think it's so hard for people to be successful in the first place?
So I would say there's probably a couple of reasons. One is staying consistent, and the second one is knowing what to do in sales to get business. So I'll go to the number one, the second part, the knowing, and I think that's, if you have that, then it's easier to stay consistent. Number one is, I would say most people come out of school, out of by us in yeshiva, and they believe salespeople are born, and you have that certain personality where you're matzlich in sales. And if you don't have it naturally, you have no way of being successful. So you start out by doing sales, going, for example, in the mortgage business, right? The big part of our business is meeting real estate salespeople and developing relationships with them. It's meeting people that are buying homes and building relationships with them. Now, what's the reason a realtor should give you a meeting. Why should anyone want to meet you, right? When you come out of yeshiva and you start doing your sales calls, it's all about yourself. It's about how successful I am, how good I am, and how, you'll be lucky you deal with me. When you start learning about a process in sales, it's easy to walk into anyone because I know what I'm going to say. I know what the rejection is going to be. Then I know what I'm going to answer. And you start realizing it's basically a game. And you play that game every day, like you play any game at home, and you win. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But if you do enough of those games, at the end you win. And that's where the consistency comes in. So most people don't have the patience of working 3-4 months in a row, coming into the office every day at 9 o'clock, doing the same spiel and hoping something sticks. By week number 1, you're still energized. Week number 2, 3, 4. But then month number 2, it's like, a month passed. I'm not going to make it in this industry. You know what? Let me switch industry. It's like almost when it's starting to stick, that's when they leave and they go to the next industry and the next one. And that's why it's not. But when you realize, hey, there's a process, you just follow the process long enough every day and every week and every month, suddenly you start seeing like, oh, it's sticking. I got one lead, I got another lead, and suddenly, and when you see that consistently happen to other people, you realize, yes, this is what it is. It's a process, and having people that help you stay consistent is what's going to help you stay long term in the business and have a successful career.
For sure. And I love that, because one of the first things when I first got into sales, I'm like, okay, it's sales. Like, let me just speak to people, tell them what to do. And I didn't realize that there's such a science to it. And after reading some books, listening to some people's podcasts, even getting coached on it, what I realized is that there is a real system, like you said, for sales. And I was recently speaking to somebody tried selling me on insurance last week. And on the call itself, I did a LinkedIn Live about this. So if you want to listen to it, it was last week. And he started to sell me on the call, and I knew it was the sales. Like, I know the sales process, and I'm just like not in the mood. And I by accidentally gave him like a line that he could have like looped me back into the sale, and he didn't do it. And I was like, I was happy he didn't do it. But then afterwards, about like an old friend of mine, I texted him like 2-3 hours later. I'm like, we got to jump on a call. And I just told him the situation, what was going on my side as like the prospect, and what he should have come up with. And I started to explain to him, I'm like, there's only about 4 or 5 different things that somebody's going to respond to you.
Exactly.
You
know what it is.
That's
you
it.
know what it is.
Exactly. And you have to have those answers for when somebody says one of those things that you can respond to. And he never thought about it like that. And it's really just sitting there going over the past 10 people you spoke to, 20 people you spoke to. What were all their excuses? And then think about it, or speak to people in the industry. What is it you can say when they say that? And constantly bring it back into the conversation. And I think that was something that I remember it was such an eye opener for me. And my old friend that I was speaking to last week, for him also was like, okay, I really got to like figure out what those things are and how it is I can, loop people back into it.
And what I say, what happens is when you understand that is life is not stressful anymore about sales. It becomes a just system. You walk in 9 o'clock in the morning, you know what you're going to do, you know what to expect, you know what to answer, and it becomes like, okay, I need to make 30 calls, I need to talk to this amount of people. And before you do it consistently, you believe it's just a book, it's just a coach, it's just whatever, it's nonsense, it's not going to work. And I remember having the conversation when I personally started implementing this in my company, and I had a group of 5 people starting the process. They were like, nah, it doesn't work. By us, it doesn't work. By our community or whatever, it's not working. It's whatever. I'm like, okay, who says who? Okay. And I said, you know what? We're going to do this for 2 months. We're going to play dumb. We're not going to be smart. We're going to follow system. We're going to follow scripts, word for word. Okay, stop being smart. We don't gain anything from being smart. We'll see after 2 months. Have we gotten somewhere? We know. And if it didn't, you know what? We'll all know we were right. It's not working. It's just bogus. And I don't have to tell you the end of the story. We're 2 years later. I mean, some of them have doubled business last year and this year on track to double again. Wow. Okay. Because what they're doing is just following consistent what they have to do, and they know what it is, and they don't have stress about it. That's the main thing. And I think by us, the word stress-free is something we use consistently. it's what I aim to be in business, having a business that you have a flow and you're in a good zone in personal life and in business. You're not desperate for business. Why? Because there's a system that helps you come in to get your leads, flowing in.
Hmm. I love that. What would you say to people who have this fear of rejection? Because in sales, you're going to get the no, and behind every no is a possible yes. And you're just the way that I like to look at it is like every time you come up to a sales call, you're at a traffic light, and sometimes it stays red, and sometimes you'll get the green to go to the next one or not. But how do you deal with that mental side of it? Because that's probably a big part of it also. Now.
It is. We once did in our company a bingo game, which the goal was we had teams and whatever. The goal was to fill up the board with all the rejections. Okay, so you won by filling out all the rejections, right? We have 5, 6, 7 rejections. There was one which was very hard to get. So you literally had to beg for the other side, hey, give me this rejection because I'm just short than one rejection. So I think there's a book called "Go for the No." There's a lot of tricks that we all got to learn in sales, which is understand that 9 no's means you'll get 1 yes, right? So that's the point. Go for the no. Yesterday, actually, some days I'm not involved in business as much, but I have other things, more of charity work that I try to be involved in. And before I left my house yesterday, I told my wife that, you know what, now I'm going for whatever. I'm just going to go out for the rejections right now. I had to make a few calls. And she was like, why for the rejections? Go for the yes. I'm like, listen, in sales, we all know it's all about the no's. You get enough no's, you get some yeses. So this is what I'm going. I'm going out for the rejections. I'm going to do calls. I know I'll get my yeses. So I think it's working on the mindset, and best of all is understanding, again, it's a process. A certain amount of people you'll call, you will get leads. It's just how it works. And sometimes you do 30 calls, you get 0. Sometimes you do 30, you get 5. And an average, there's going to be an average. And if you track your calls, your activities, you'll see a number eventually of how many calls in order for me to close the deal.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because so many people don't realize that there is some math behind it, and the more people you call them, the more opportunities you're giving yourself, and you're going to end up closing people. And I remember for me when I first started, my coach was telling me you gotta call 30 people a day, 30 people a day, and I was like, I called 3, and I texted one of them, what I'm saying, and I'm like, I emailed another one, like he's like no, like
You didn't call 30.
yeah, and I did not. And it was like, no, you have to get those numbers up. And only once you realize that, it's like you just have to put in the reps. That's when you're really building the muscle. And that's when you're really going to start to see the patterns, and you're going to start to get more comfortable with getting rejected, and even get more comfortable just when somebody says something to sort of get the conversation in another direction to give yourself a better opportunity. But when it comes to sales, one of the things that I think a lot of people in sales feel, and a lot of people on the other side, on the consumer side of it, they feel salesy, right? That word salesy, or they don't feel great about that feeling. How
Yeah.
somebody who's teaching this, somebody who's like an expert in this, how do you go about that when the word sales is like in a lot of places a dirty word, because you're sort of convincing people to buy something that maybe they don't want, or maybe they it's not the best thing for them.
So I always try to go on 2 extremes to give people the, whichever way they want it. Number one, what I say is, let's say you are salesy. Fine. What else can you do? What else can you do? You want to go for charity when you need money? So you have 2 ways of doing it. Or you go for charity, shul, or when it comes to chasana, you have a choice to be the beggar, or you have a choice to be the beggar right now and go out and sell. Okay, if that's how you feel. But if you feel that way, I think that's a separate discussion. What are you selling? Are you selling something you believe in? So, for example, we sell mortgages, right? I mean, we don't sell mortgage. Basically, we help you with the mortgage. Okay. And so I'm really comfortable what I'm doing is because I know we're helping someone, right? There are 3 types of mortgages. Let's say one is a purchase. There's a refinance. Let's say you have a rate of 7%. I help you to go to 6%, or I help you cash out money. You have equity, you need money, I help you with that. In all 3 areas, I'm helping you, or you're buying, you're joining, you're going to investment or primary, whatever it should be. So I know for a fact that I'm doing a service to you, okay, which you need. The only question is now if you're dealing with me or with someone else. Okay. So don't think I'm begging you to deal with me. But now, why would you feel someone is begging? I'm not begging you for business. I know I'm the best at what I do. And if you are not, that's a good question. Why not? Be that person. So
Mhm.
I have it on my wall actually. If I were the consumer, would I use myself? Okay, that's on my wall that I have it. So what someone once mentioned to me. That's a question anybody should ask themselves when they go out and sell. And if I was the customer, would I use myself? Do I have the best service? And if that's the answer is no, then you better work on that. So I assume that people go out and sell are the best in their what they're doing. And if that's the case, you're just there helping people. So why would you even feel like selling?
Interesting. And what about when somebody in the beginning of a conversation says no, 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 and then at the end they sort of change their mind a little bit, and they're like, you know what, I could see it, and I want to say yes. So how do you? I mean, I have a way that I picture it, but how would you picture that happening when somebody initially was maybe they don't want this service, and then at the end of it they end up buying it, and then maybe they have buyer's remorse, maybe they don't have buyer's remorse, but they're sort of switching based on their initial reaction to having that conversation.
So it's hard for me to talk about products that I don't understand. Meaning is like it could be when someone is selling a product that I really don't need and they're convincing me to buy something. I think that's the good part that we have in our business. That's where I always push my salespeople is this is exactly the point. We're not selling something that someone doesn't need. They need this
Right.
product. It's only a matter who they're going to use. Okay.
Mhm.
For example, I send out data every week to all my loan officers. This is the amount of sales that happened last week in our counties. And it's like, okay, you have 1,400 sales a week. How much do you need? You need two a week and you're earning $500,000 plus. Two out of 1,400. Tell me that you can get it. Of course you could. If you make enough calls, you'll get it. So point is, for me, of course, I believe if someone is selling a product that the other person doesn't need, that's not sales. That's basically stealing someone's money. So I don't think anybody should ever sell something that the other person doesn't need.
Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And it's interesting going back to this, the sales side of it. I think one of the main things and one of the things that sells the most out of really any script somebody might have is like what you're saying is the conviction is saying like, I know I can really help you. And if somebody had a medicine for somebody who was sick, God forbid, and they know they can help them, and the person's like, no, I don't want it. I don't need it. Like, I'll be fine. I'll find something else. What would you do to really help that person? And a lot of
Exactly.
people out there are really struggling, and a lot of people do need that support, and a lot of people don't have the direction, or maybe they've burnt before by somebody else. And it's our job as somebody who knows that they can help that person to try to figure out a way that we can get them to just see it in order to just show them, hey, I can help you with this specific thing over here. And some people have money back guarantees, and some people have other ways to make it less scary for the person to commit to the situation. But there is this conviction that I think on the sales side of it that you need to have in order to be, have that leg up above a lot of people when it comes to the sales.
Yeah, I think I don't have a lot to add to that, but that's basically the point. If you're not you don't have a conviction of what you're selling, I think you should leave your industry. But I mean, that's number one. If
Right.
you're just out there making money, meaning is, and the other person doesn't benefit, it's not a good sales pitch. So
Yeah.
obviously, we're talking about when you know what you're selling and you believe in the product. Now it's just a matter how do you sell your product. The other person doesn't understand the value yet. You know what? You got to show them the value. So that's the key to sales.
For sure. I know we only have a few more minutes left, but when it comes to if somebody's like, okay, you know what? I never thought or never heard that I had to actually work on my skill of sales. Where do they start when it comes to sales? Like where can they start?
I would say one of the first things I guess someone is to understand that sales, um, the reason to join sales should never be because I don't want to work. Okay. Some people join because they're not looking for a job. They want to be self-employed. Self-employed doesn't mean they're looking for the opportunity. They're looking for the opportunity to not have to work. That's not sales. Sales is a real job, a real business. And the reason why someone should join sales is because they're looking for opportunity. And if that's the reason you're joining, it's a great opportunity in sales. Okay. So if you want to start in sales, I guess understand your industry first of all. What's the opportunity that you have? Try to find other salespeople in this business that can tell you, what they're doing, how are they successful. Understand the sales process in this industry. Again, in the mortgage business, there's a sales process, and um, the one of the main things is surround yourself with someone to hold you accountable. It is very easy to fall off track. Today, for example, was a rainy weather. Rainy weathers is for a lot of people hard to do their sales, but if you're surrounded with a team and the right accountability partners, then it doesn't matter the weather. You got to show up, you got to do what you have to do. So no matter who your accountability partner, it's your boss, it's your friend, your wife, your husband, anybody else, whoever is your accountability partner, I think that's the main thing that anybody needs in sales is accountability. And that's what most people are missing. And that's why only a percentage is successful in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say us as a company that have been successful to do recently is to build teams, a team of 5 or 8 people, and as a group, to hold them accountable, find ways, and it's not, there's the carrot and the stick, basically, to find ways to reward them for being consistent. And you know what? If the group does this for a month, you know what? We'll do this for you. If you do, so it's finding a few groups of people that are willing to hold each other accountable, and they're looking for that. That's what drives them, and finding rewards that is helping them grow in their business.
Love that. Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I know with me in the coaching space, accountability is everything. I mean, that's our whole industry. And if people want to become successful, you look at the most successful people, and they have the most amount of accountability from other people, from other support. And I think that's something that's really, really, really powerful.
And it's
Do
crazy
you?
how people run away from it. People run away that they somehow feel, and I don't blame them. I think it's when you start becoming self-employed, you feel like you got, that relief. But instead of looking at the potential you have, and if you have accountability, like, wow, imagine if I have to do this, what's going to be. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. Can anybody get into sales? Is sales for everybody, or do you have to be a certain type of person?
You don't have to be a certain type. You just have to be driven. You have to be motivated and driven. I think that's what you need in sales. But the type of person doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think with me, I don't know why I thought I was a natural salesperson. And then I learned very quickly. I'm like, no, no, no. Like, I really have to like learn what's going on here. And there was a nice season of my life where I got obsessed with it, and I started to learn about it, and saw the science behind it. And it was like a really mixing it in with the art. It's something that's really, really cool behind the scenes if you really get into the nitty
I would say
gritty.
same here. Yeah, I would say same here. I naturally was a good salesman, as in I was doing very well in sales. And I always say I hope people are doing as well as I did at a certain point. But you know what? I wasn't able to teach anyone. It was selfish, meaning is I owned it myself. I had no way of telling you what you should do in order to copy. Okay, because when it comes natural, there's nothing. That's why I was limited. I was limited in, okay, I can help you with a lot of other areas, but not in sales. I had a good friend that was pushing me on, understanding sales. And you know what? I'm thankful. It's such a good feeling teaching others and seeing how others are doing, growing their business. And understanding, yes, there's some people that naturally are gifted. Wherever they walk, they attract people and they get business. But you know what? Those people can't share it with anyone else. It's for themselves. It's a natural gift, and you can't. So when you understand the process of it, you're able to help others, and that's the best gift that anyone can have, is helping other people.
Yeah, amazing. Joel, thank you so much for this. Such an informative
Very good.
conversation. Really, really appreciate it. And if people want to find out more about you, I know you're on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else people can reach out to you?
That's basically, email joel@eminentcapital.com. But I would say that's the best place. So yeah, thanks for having me, and I hope it encourages others to understand the sales process. It's a pleasure when you do.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Joel.
Herzlichen.